Two tires sit on the same rack, same size, same width, same tread pattern staring back at you. One sidewall says Michelin, the other says Kirkland Signature. The Michelin rings up around $220. The Kirkland, around $150. The guy at the counter taps the famous one and says you get what you pay for. Here's what he won't say. Michelin builds both. Same rubber compound family, same factories, different sticker. And that gap, about $70 a tire, times 4, is almost $300 you hand over for a name that's already inside the cheaper box. So here's my verdict, before I prove a word of it. Some of the brands you walk right past on the bottom shelf are built by the exact companies charging you double up top. Some of them are gold mines, hiding in plain sight, and a few of the expensive badges are nothing but a tax on your trust. I've got 4 checks. 4. That's the whole method I use to judge any tire, any battery, any filter on any shelf, and it works on the car sitting in your driveway right now. Whatever the mileage, whatever the badge. Stay with me, and by the end you'll run those 4 checks yourself and never get upsold again. Let me open the first file. I spent years on the other side of that counter. I still remember crouching in a tire bay, running my thumb over a sidewall, reading the little stamped code near the rim, and realizing the customer standing over me had no idea that 4-letter code told me exactly which plant molded his budget tire and which molded the premium one 2 racks over. Same code, same plant. He paid the difference anyway. That code is going to matter later, so hold on to it. Let's start with the one from the intro, because it's the cleanest verdict I've got. Kirkland Signature Tires, Costco's house brand. The name alone makes people flinch. It's the label on the paper towels and the rotisserie chicken, so the assumption writes itself. Cheap warehouse rubber, a compromise you make to save a few bucks. That's the charge against it, and almost everyone I've talked to believes it. Now follow the money. Kirkland Signature tires are manufactured by Michelin, not a cousin of Michelin, not a licensing deal with a stranger. Michelin, the same company that builds the Michelin Defender and the Michelin Cross Climate. The warehouse doesn't own a tire plant. It rents the expertise of one of the best tire makers on earth and prints its own name on the result. Michelin has been around since 1889, and it did not get where it is by putting garbage into a box, even a box with somebody else's logo on it. When Michelin's engineering rolls into a Kirkland casing, you're getting hand-me-down premium technology at a value-tier price, because the warehouse isn't spending a fortune marketing that tire. There's no famous ad campaign baked into the sticker. You skip the badge tax and keep the engineering. Here's the price, plainly. A comparable Michelin can run you north of $200 per tire. The Kirkland equivalent often lands around $150, sometimes less. And that price frequently includes installation, rotation, and road hazard coverage that the tire shop down the street charges you extra for. On a set of 4, you're looking at real savings of $200 to $300 for tires built by the same hands. Verdict. Kirkland Signature is a gold mine, and it's the first name on my scoreboard, cleared without a scratch. It's the purest example of what this whole video is about. 1 company, 2 stickers, and a price gap you were never supposed to notice. But a house brand from a warehouse is an easy call. Let me show you one where the badge itself is respected, and people still overpay for the wrong version of it. General Tire. The name sounds generic on purpose, and drivers treat it that way. It gets shrugged off as a middle-shelf brand, the tire you settle for when you can't afford the good stuff. That's the reputation on trial. Now the pedigree. General Tire is owned by Continental, the German engineering giant founded in 1871. Continental bought General Tire back in 1987, and it's the same parent that builds the premium Continental tires people happily pay top dollar for. Continental is also one of the largest original equipment suppliers on the planet, meaning its rubber rolls out of the factory already bolted to brand new cars from the manufacturer. So when you buy a General, you're buying access to Continental's compound science and Continental's test data, priced for the value tier. A premium Continental might cost you around $180 a tire. The comparable General often sits closer to $120. That's $60 a corner, $240 on a full set. For tires that share a corporate laboratory and a parent that's been perfecting grip since before the automobile was mass-produced. Most people think General is a no-name compromise. What's actually happening is you're buying German premium engineering with the marketing budget stripped out of the price. Verdict: General Tire is cleared. Second gold mine on the board. Now let me be straight with you about how I run this. No brand on this scoreboard pays me a dime. There are no sponsors sliding me a check to clear a name, no free product changing a verdict. Every single one gets weighed on the same evidence: parent company, price, and spec, or it gets convicted. That's the only reason any of this is worth your time, and if that's the kind of straight read you want before you spend money, subscribing tells me to keep making it. Now remember, I promised you 4 checks. Let me hand you the first 2 right now, because you'll need them for the next file. Check 1. Find out who actually manufactures the tire, not who sells it. The seller's logo tells you nothing. The parent company tells you everything. Get that wrong and you pay a premium price for a product a budget brand's parent could have sold you cheaper. Check 2. On every tire sidewall there's a code that starts with the letters DOT. The 2 characters right after tell you the exact plant that built the tire. 2 tires with different names and the same plant code came out of the same building. That's the code I was reading in the bay. It doesn't lie, and the salesman is betting you never learned to read it. Hold those 2. The next file is where the badge tax gets personal. Falken. Say that name to a lot of drivers and you get a blank look. Or worse, they wave it off as a cheap import for people who lower their cars and never leave a parking lot. That dismissal buries one of the best-kept secrets in the tire aisle. Falken is a brand of Sumitomo Rubber Industries, a Japanese company whose roots go back to 1909. Sumitomo isn't some bargain bin outfit. For decades, it manufactured Dunlop tires across major markets and supplied original equipment to real automakers. The Falken name was launched in 1983, specifically as Sumitomo's performance line, and it's carried by the same engineering that fed those original equipment contracts. Here's the proof in dollars. A premium touring tire from one of the big 3 brands can run $200 or more per tire. A comparable Falken frequently lands between $110 and $140, with independent tread life testing and mileage warranties that stretch to 65,000 miles or higher on their touring lines. You're buying the same category of engineering with a name that never spent a fortune making itself a household word in your country. The mechanism is simple. Falken carries a lighter marketing load in North America, so the price reflects the rubber instead of the reputation. Verdict: Falken is cleared, and it's the 3rd gold mine on the board. If you skipped it because the name sounded cheap, that instinct just cost you around $240 a set for no reason. But tires are only half of what gets marked up in your life. Let me walk you to the part of the store where the trick is even quieter, because the product is sealed in a box and you'll never see inside it. Batteries. This is where the badge tax hides in a black plastic case, and almost nobody checks. Start with the most trusted name in the category: Die Hard. That battery built its legend at Sears starting in 1967, and for a couple of generations it was the gold standard, the one your father swore by. When Sears collapsed, Advance Auto Parts bought the Die Hard brand in 2019 for around $200 million. So the name you trust is now a label that got sold like a piece of furniture. Here's the part that matters. Die Hard doesn't own a battery factory. Neither do most of the names you know. The overwhelming majority of car batteries sold in North America come out of a small handful of manufacturers, and the biggest one is a company called Clarios, formerly the power division of Johnson Controls. Clarios builds roughly 1 in 3 car batteries on the entire planet. Premium labels, store labels, and budget labels roll off the same lines with different covers snapped on. Now here's the one that stings. Walmart's EverStart battery, the one people are almost embarrassed to buy, is manufactured by those same major suppliers, Clarios and East Penn, the exact factories feeding the premium brands. An EverStart value can run around $50 to $70. A big-name premium battery of the same group size can run $140, $160, sometimes more. That's a difference of $80 to $100 for a battery that came off the same assembly line with a different sticker. Most people think a premium battery lasts longer because it costs more. What's actually happening is the price is tracking the badge, not the battery. The thing that actually determines how long your battery lives is the cold cranking amps rating matched to your car, and more than anything, the age of the battery when you buy it. And that brings me straight to your third check. Check 3. Every battery has a date code, usually a letter and a number, where the letter is the month and the number is the year. A battery is a chemical product, and it ages on the shelf whether you use it or not. Buy one that's been sitting for a year, and you've already burned a chunk of its life before it ever touched your car. I've seen premium batteries sitting older than the budget ones right next to them. The date code is free to read, and it's worth more than the brand name printed above it. Verdict on this file. Die Hard as a name is coasting on a legend it no longer manufactures, and the premium battery badge in general is convicted as a tax. Now, I can only fit so much of this into one video. The date codes, the parent companies, the plant stamps, that's the surface of a system I spent years mapping out on paper, and I finally wrote the whole thing down myself, brand by brand, with the markup math laid out so you can run it yourself on oil, on batteries, on tires, cold. Not opinions. Names named, numbers run, and decision templates you can take into a shop this weekend and know before the counter guy opens his mouth. There are case studies of drivers who got played and exactly where the money leaked out, a plan for the first 30, 60, and 90 days to claw those costs straight back, and lifetime updates as I add new brand data, because these companies keep shuffling the labels. If you want the complete version of what's working for you right now in this video, scan the QR code right there on your screen. Grab the books from the link in the description or the pinned comment. Then come back here, because I'm about to hand you the method itself. The gold mine here is buying on cold cranking amps and date code, from whichever major supplier battery is freshest and fits your car. Get this wrong and you overpay $100 for the privilege of a familiar logo on a case you'll never open. Now let me give you the full method, because you've already got 3 of the 4 checks, and the 4th is the one that ties it all together. This is the part that turns you from a guesser into a buyer who cannot be upsold. 4 checks. Run them on anything in this category and you'll know more than the person selling it to you. Check 1, again, because it's the spine of everything. Identify the manufacturer, not the seller. Ask who owns the brand and which parent company builds it. If a budget label shares a parent with a premium label, you've found a gold mine. If a premium label shares a factory with a store brand, you've found a tax. Check 2. Read the plant code. On a tire, that's the 2 characters after the DOT stamp. Same code, same building, same tire wearing 2 names. On a battery, that's the manufacturer's mark and the group size. The physical evidence is stamped right on the product, and it settles the argument every time. Check 3. Read the date code. Tires carry a 4-digit code at the end of that DOT string, telling you the week and year it was built. A tire older than 6 years is aging out regardless of tread, and you should never accept an old one at a new tire price. Batteries carry that month and year stamp. Freshness is the single most controllable factor in how long the thing lasts, and it costs nothing to check. Check 4. Compare the specification, never the badge. On tires, that means the treadwear rating in that UTQG number, the mileage warranty, and above all, the load and speed ratings printed on the sidewall, which must match or exceed what's on the sticker inside your driver's door. On batteries, it's the cold cranking amps and the group size. When you compare the number instead of the name, the price gap has nowhere to hide. And I'll say this plainly, because safety matters more than savings. Matching that load and speed rating is not optional. A cheaper tire that carries the correct rating is a smart buy. A cheaper tire that drops below your car's spec is not a saving, it's a hazard, and I'll never tell you otherwise. Those 4 checks are the whole game. Manufacturer, plant code, date code, specification. Learn them once and every shelf in every store turns from a mystery into a menu you can read. The salesman loses his only advantage, which is that you didn't know how to look. Now let me use those 4 checks on a file that reorders the whole board, because this next brand has a pedigree most drivers would never guess. BFG Goodrich. People know it as the rugged tire, the off-road name, and they assume it's a rowdy American upstart with no relation to the refined premium brands. That's the reputation, and it's only half right. Follow the money and it lands in a familiar place. BF Goodrich has been owned by Michelin since 1990, when Michelin acquired the Uniroyal Goodrich Tire Company for around $1.5 billion. So the same parent that builds the Kirkland tire from the very first file and the premium Michelins up top also builds BF Goodrich. 3 names, 1 company. When you run check 1, the manufacturer, they all point back to the same laboratory. Here's the mechanism, and it's the theme of this entire video. Michelin lets its engineering roll downhill. Development that got paid for at the premium level trickles into the other badges under the same roof. A BF Goodrich all-terrain often lands well below a comparable premium Michelin, while carrying serious independent test results and mileage warranties in the 50 to 60,000 mile range on its street lines. You're buying Michelin parentage with a different attitude on the sidewall and often $40 to $60 less per tire. Verdict: BF Goodrich is cleared. A 4th gold mine, and it moves the board because it proves the pattern isn't a coincidence. One premium parent is quietly feeding at least 3 price tiers, and only one of them carries the price you'd expect. But before I hand down the last verdict, I need to talk to the person watching who's already convinced the cheap stuff is a trap. If you're sitting there thinking cheap always means risky, that a bargain tire or a store battery is going to strand you on the highway, I want you to stay right here, because this next part is built for the exact car in your driveway today. You don't need a shop. You don't need a single special tool. This week, walk out to your car and read the sidewall of one tire. Find the DOT stamp and read the last 4 digits. That's the week and year it was made. Then open your driver's door and read the load and speed rating on the sticker in the door jamb. Now you know 2 things. The last person who sold you tires was betting you'd never look up, and you can walk into any shop already holding the evidence. That's the whole point. The knowledge doesn't require money. It requires knowing where to look. Now the last file, and this one is different, because I'm not going to clear it clean. This is where I prove to you the scoreboard isn't rigged. Fram, the oil filter your dad probably used, the orange box on every parts store shelf in the country. And here's the honest part. Fram doesn't have a premium engineering parent quietly making it better than it looks. It's owned today by First Brands Group, an aftermarket parts company. There's no secret Michelin or Continental hiding behind it. So I have to judge it on the product itself, and I have to give you the real weaknesses, because a fair verdict is the only kind worth trusting. Owners and mechanics have complained for years, in their own words, that the cheapest Fram filters, the entry-level orange can line, use a lighter construction, a cardboard-style end cap on the internal element instead of metal, and thinner materials than the premium filters from brands like the ones built by Mann and Hummel, the German parent behind Wix and the Napa Gold filters. That's a real criticism, and I'm not going to wave it away. If you're running long intervals between oil changes or pushing a high-performance engine hard, that's a genuine reason to step up to a heavier-built filter, and those often cost only a few dollars more, maybe $8 to $12 against $5 or $6. But here's the honest other side. For a normal car on a normal maintenance schedule, changing oil on time, Fram's mid and upper lines do the job they're built to do, and the brand has passed plenty of routine filtration standards for decades. Millions of engines have run their whole lives on these filters without drama. The trap isn't that Fram is dangerous. The trap is buying the very cheapest version for an engine and a driving style that deserved the better one, or paying up for a premium filter you didn't need on a car you changed the oil in religiously. So the verdict on Fram is a split, and I'm giving it to you honestly. Convicted on the bargain basement line for demanding use, but cleared for ordinary drivers doing ordinary maintenance who buy the mid-tier and change their oil on schedule. That split is exactly how you tell a gold mine from a trap. A gold mine is a cheap price hiding a premium parent. A trap is a cheap price hiding cheaper materials for a job that needed more. The 4 checks are how you tell which one you're holding, every single time. And that's the whole board. Kirkland, cleared. General, cleared. Falken, cleared. The premium battery badge, convicted, with freshness and cold cranking amps as the real gold mine. BF Goodrich, cleared. And Fram, the honest split that proves I'm not just clearing everybody to look clever. Here's what you actually just did. You took back money and leverage that was being quietly lifted out of your wallet at the counter, one familiar logo at a time. That's not a small thing. That's $300 on a set of tires, $100 on a battery, real money that stays in your pocket because you learned to read a code instead of a brand. Because that's who you are if you made it this far. You're the kind of driver who refuses to keep paying a badge tax for your own ignorance. You keep your car running longer than most, you hate being fleeced, and now you've got the 4 checks that make it nearly impossible for anyone to fleece you again. Now, here's the next case already sitting open in the file. Brake pads. The exact same trick. A handful of manufacturers building premium and budget lines on the same equipment, and a markup at the counter that'll make the tire game look tame. If you're staring down a brake job right now, tell me in the comments, because that's the video I'm building next, and I want to know who's about to walk into that trap. Subscribe so you don't miss the day I open it, because it's the one that saves you the most. And before you go, do one thing for me. Tell me which verdict surprised you the most, and tell me which of these is riding on your car right this minute. Is it the Kirklands most people don't know are Michelin's? Is it the Die Hard you inherited your faith in? Name it. I read them, and I'll tell you straight whether you got the gold mine or the tax. Before you go, let me tell you what waits just past this video. Inside the Honest Garage, I'll walk you through the full 4-check method on every shelf brand. And if something on your car has you unsure, you can ask me directly, and a real person, me, answers, never a machine. You'd be joining thousands of smart drivers already inside. Just point your phone's camera at the code on screen. Cancel anytime, one click, no risk. Now that you know these tricks, let me show you the hidden features built right into your car that most people never use. It could save you money and hassle. That video is starting right here.